Sorry, that was way too enthusiastic.
Wow.
Yeah,
that was almost like American levels of enthusiasm.
yeah, I got to reel
Tone
it
it down
in.
there. Tone it down there, Irishman. Come on.
Welcome everybody to Sharpen That Axe, a podcast dedicated to strengthening your skills as a guitar player. I'm Dylan Murphy.
And I'm John Gillen.
God, that was so seamless, John. You'd swear we'd done like 16 episodes by now.
A whole 16 episodes.
Wow.
Wow.
As I said last week, I think this is 16 is the most number of anything that I've ever done ever. So yeah, I'm very, very proud to be here. Welcome everybody. Welcome listeners, old and new. I'm aware that we're up to about 700 plays now, John.
Yeah, exactly. Over that, to be honest, I'm not sure I could check our stats at the moment, but yeah, it's over 700. We've got lots of new likes, new listeners.
How refreshing it is to actually have something progressing in either of our lives. Sorry, too far, too close to the
Zing.
But no, thank you. You guys, I'm like Jack Nicholson and you're like Helen Hunt. You complete me. That's it. You make me want to be a better guitar player.
Oh, that's
sweet. Yeah, there we go.
That's
Take
sweet.
that, listeners. John, have you got my lick of the week ready there?
Oh, goodness. Yes.
Okay, so if you do, I got to explain what a little bit of background before.
Okay, do some splaining.
Okay, so wait, no, I had two lined up. And no, actually, this one, this is one of my favorite guitar riffs ever. And yeah, actually, this one doesn't need to explain. The one I've got lined up for next time, that needs some explaining. But yeah, hit it.
Okay.
Maybe you know who it is.
Here we go. Oh. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I actually have no idea who that is, but I freaking love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's got that real slide, like on a Les Paul kind of tone.
Yeah,
it's
really
big.
Good. It's huge. I feel like whoever's doing it must wear like at least size 14 boots, and they probably weigh like 14 pounds a piece. A stone, even. A whole stone. For
John, you're back
boots.
in the States now. There's no stones over there. Yes, that is, if you would like me to fill you in, that is Love Spreads by the Stone Roses. That is off their second album. Do you know anything about the Stone Roses?
I don't. Tell me and everyone else who doesn't know anything about the Stone Roses.
Okay.
Educate me.
First of all, brace yourself while I smack you. No, the Stone Roses, basically, last big British band was the Arctic Monkeys. Last big British band before them, arguably, not counting Radiohead, Oasis, maybe. Without the Stone Roses, there would be no Oasis, there would be no Arctic Monkeys. Their first album is, it's self-titled. It's a British legendary album. Got a load of hits. That's not off it. They recorded one album, took a 5-year break, and then came back with their second album, which was, called Second Coming, because they thought they were great. And that was the lead single of it. The album absolutely bombed, but I love that song and that riff especially. Their guitarist, John Squire, is a massive influence on Noel Gallagher. Maybe that's a bad thing. And loads of other British guitarists. But that riff, I was listening to it on YouTube the other day. And on YouTube, you can listen to isolated guitar tracks, without the drums and bass. The one of that is it's just beautiful. It's just such the tone. It's so good. So yeah, that is my lick of the week this week. Love Spreads by the Stone Roses.
Hey, a question for you. Do you know how to get that isolated guitar track?
I don't. I just know that there's videos of them on YouTube.
Okay. Well, if anybody does know, do tweet at us or Facebook us or whatever, because I'd like to know. I honestly don't. So I presume somebody out there in the wonderful world of cyberspace that is listening to us already knows. So
yeah. I know that I remember Lamb of God did this thing a few years ago where they released one of their albums and they basically included software on it so that you could remix it. It had all the tracks and all the... Yeah, it was amazing. And I was like, I really hope bands do this from now on.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I've never heard of any other band doing it. Basically, you could remix it so that the drums would be louder or that the guitar could be louder or whatever. You could do whatever you wanted. It was such a cool idea. And
that's a brilliant idea.
And then
especially
CDs
when you're trying
died.
to learn a guitar lick.
Absolutely, which is what we're all about. So, John, Pedal Talk. If you want to remind the listeners about how last week's Pedal Talk went.
Okay, so Pedal Talk. Right now we are doing a 250 quid buck challenge. So in other words, 250 of your monies from wherever you are in the world, presuming they're roughly equivalent to euros, pounds, or dollars.
No yen allowed.
Yeah, no yen. Yeah, because 250 yen, I don't think even buys you like a little bit of candy. So
no.
Yeah, but essentially, if you're anywhere sort of in that sort of dollar, US dollar, Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, pound sterling, euros, anybody in the Eurozone, etc. So $250 does not include whatever you're going to put it on, does not necessarily include cables, but this was something we came up, the lads from Andertons did one, and then there was someone else, the Pedal Show guys also did one, and we thought, hey,
we're completely ripping that off, but
yeah,
we're admitting to it.
Absolutely. We're using our citations here. This is where it came from. So anyway, last week was Dylan's, a recap on Dylan's. Dylan had a Joyo FF02 Ultimate Drive, TC Electronics Prophet, the Electro Harmonix Soul Food, the Moore Tremolo, the Trelicopter.
The Trelicopter, yeah.
Right. And then the ever controversial Wah for his pedal board. So,
yeah.
Indubitably.
So John seemed to take umbrage with a few of those choices, so now he's going to regale us with a few of his own selections.
Indubitably.
I'm all ears, Jonathan.
Okay, so the first two that we have to have, by the way, there has to be an overdrive or a distortion pedal, and then there has to be a delay or reverb pedal.
Yeah, because, come on.
Yeah, you have to have at least that. And then anything above and beyond is kind of up to you. For my delay... So this is not necessarily in order of the effects chain, but this is just, here you go.
Don't delay, John. Tell me about your...
I went with the Electro Harmonix Memory Boy. I managed to find one used for $75.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell me
so the
more.
Memory Boy, if you're familiar with your memory, with the Memory Man, right? This is the classic Edge uses the thing.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But the Memory Boy is kind of a smaller, cheaper version. It's a little bit limited on what you can do, and not the Memory Boy Deluxe, which is kind of the next version up. Strangely enough, they run about the same price used, but the Memory Boy, the normal Memory Boy has a chorus and a vibrato switch that you can use with an expression pedal out. And this kind of adds to its capabilities. It's kind of an interesting little thing. Pro Guitar Shop's got some videos on it. Definitely check it out. Next to that, then...
I'm intrigued. Go on. Keep going.
I've got the TC Electronics. So this is a reverb. Could you guess what reverb I picked from TC Electronics?
The Holy Grail. Not the Holy Grail. What's it called? Hall of Fame.
You would think that. But apparently, there's something called the Sky Surfer.
What?
Yeah, so the Sky Surfer found this used for 60 quid. And it's got more capability, more things that you can adjust than the Hall of Fame. In fact, it even allows you to select whether you want a room, a plate, or a spring reverb sound to it.
If anybody needs any explanations of those, we looked at reverb pedals a few shows back, if you want to check that out. Anyway, go on. Where did you tell me more? Like, how is it so cheap?
This one I found on Reverb. So to be honest, I don't know why this is actually cheaper than the Hall of Fame. They sound almost identical, except for the fact that you can do more to manipulate the sound, your decay options, and those, like, you have a decay option on the Sky Surfer that you don't have on the Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame has one great big knob, and that's it.
Yeah.
The mini Hall of Fame does. The Sky Surfer's got the 3 knobs, which gives you a whole lot more flexibility. Like I said, a 3-way switch that allows you to pick the type of reverb you want, your decay, and your mix as well. So it's mix and level. That's what it is. And fantastic pedal. For $60, I don't think you can beat it for a reverb. And
no.
I went with a reverb and a delay because I think it gives you a few more options in terms of whether let's say if you're at a gig and you have to cover some sort of U2 song, or you're kind of doing some shoegazer or some improv, or even looking at a variety of post-rock sorts of sounds. It kind of opens those up a lot. Now, for my overdrive pedals,
this is what I want to know. Pedals.
There's a Z in there. I went with the Moore Green Mile. This is $45 used.
I used to have one of them.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So this, as you know, is essentially a Tube Screamer clone. And I want to hear I'll keep going, and then I want to hear what you make of the Green Mile. Okay.
I can't remember if I did a bit of a spiel, but will I say my spiel about the Moore Green Mile?
Let me finish what I got here, and then.
Sorry, apologies.
Yeah. I think last time you had said something about the Green Mile, that you almost went for it, and then you chose your Joyo instead.
Yes, I did say that.
Which is an OCD clone. Now, yes. I also went for an OCD clone, but I went for the more OCD clone, which is called the Hustle Drive. Again, It's 45 used, but it's an excellent clean boost. And if you want to sort of dial back the gain on it, and then you can stack, and this is the reason I went with 2 gain pedals, is essentially you can stack these. So you could either use one as a clean boost, which you could also use the Green Mile since it is kind of that Tube Screamer clone, and then really crank up the gain on the Hustle Drive to just blow people out of the water. And the last one, I found a Behringer expression pedal used for 25 quid. So that I thought was good. Little partner for the Memory Boy. Yeah. And if you wanted to, you could also use it as a volume pedal. So it's nothing fancy, but Behringer is just kind of known for making cheap stuff that works. And that's about the extent of it. So anyway, your thoughts, and I'd say I'd be interested to hear you start with the Green Mile, if that's all right.
John, I'm taken aback. You've just put so much more thought and effort into this than I did. But still, very, very interesting choices. I'm going to Google the hell out of those pedals, man. They sound really good.
Do it.
The Green Mile. So it was sold to me. I was going through my own. We've all been through that Stevie Ray Vaughan phase of our lives, where we're like, I'm going to stick gauge 15 strings on my guitar, and everything will be fine.
And ruin my fingers.
I really wanted a Tube Screamer, and I couldn't afford one, so I got a Moore Green Mile. And now, I think I said last week, I was running it through a PV amp. I believe it was a POS amp or...
Yeah, I think that's the actual model number.
Yeah, so don't get me wrong, PV make great amps. Tom Morello uses them exclusively. That's pretty cool. But
yeah,
it did not work, and the gain just was too harsh. I was playing through my Epiphone 345, which is a really hot guitar anyway. It's got 3 P90 pickups, so it is a beast. So
3 of them, you said?
3 P90s. It's ridiculous.
Nice.
It's so unnecessary. Bought it off a junkie a few years ago. Never gone back. So yeah, I think it's a good pedal. I just have yet to use it. I mean, for the price, I can't really knock you for it.
Yeah,
it's pretty great. And those other pedals I'm really interested in. Was it a Moore pedal? The OCD clone?
Yeah. And there's some demos of that one online too, and even a couple of people that stack it up against the OCD.
How much are they new? Do you know?
I think they're about 60 or 70. So
okay.
Yeah. And in terms of, if you're on a budget, for sure, it does a good job. I think the OCD tends to be a little bit clearer when
but it's like €200.
Yeah, exactly. So you can get a little bit cheaper here, but looking for things used, I think, is key when you're trying to do something like this. It's and you're on a budget, and there's no harm done. Find what works, find what sounds good, do some homework, see what's out there. Like the Memory Boy, I didn't expect to find that. And that was kind of just going through delay pedals on Reverb, and I came across this and was like, that's interesting. Did some research on it and went, I'd rather have the Memory Boy than the Memory Boy Deluxe. It's got a little bit more flexibility, and it's cheaper. So,
curious.
Yeah, I don't understand how Electro Harmonix figured like the Deluxe would be more expensive and less flexible, but that was my impression. So,
very intrigued.
Go from there.
Okay, friends, let us know. What do you think of John's selections? Are they better than mine? Probably. But he's been doing this a lot longer than I have, and I know dick all about pedals. So I'm learning. Every day is learning new.
I thought this was an interesting challenge, because a lot of the stuff that you came up with, I wasn't familiar with. And to be honest, I think there's a tendency in the guitar world to just grab whatever you see the most of. And
That's
like
yeah.
an Electro-Harmonix Memory Man would have been like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Or even a boss like DD7 would have been, yeah, that's kind of what you expect. But when you have to work on a budget, then you start finding things that, hey, actually, for instance, the Hall of Fame, that was another good one, I thought,
Absolutely. And we've been doing a master's for the last 2 years. So essentially, like, we've been on a budget for all of that,
right.
Budget beer, budget haircuts, budget everything, man.
Yeah. Just ask us where to find the best haircut in Cork. So, anyway,
tweet at us. So, friends, moving on to our next section. So, a few weeks ago, we started basically a technique expose. Would you say, John?
Yeah, just kind of
focus.
getting back to some of the things that when we're working on practicing, just trying to figure out what's the best way to go about these things. What are pitfalls to avoid, and just things that we've learned, kind of share and how to go about practicing some of these things. And
so last time it was vibrato, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly. Had some good insights on that, I thought. So we decided to continue it, and this week we're going to take a look at bending.
Ooh, okay. Bending.
Yeah.
Controversial. Everybody wants to do it. Few people do it amazingly well. Well, like the pros.
True.
Yeah. Kirk Hammett? Sorry. God, that's not. Sorry, Kirk. Sorry. We keep on ragging. We should have like a little alarm when somebody's...
Yes, we just bleep it out. Beep.
Yeah. So, bending. I was teaching a beginner student last week, John, and I was trying to frame the different types of bending, the kind of the basic types. There's loads of different types, but I was essentially saying that, telling the difference between half-step bends, full-tone bends, and quarter note bends, essentially.
Interesting.
And I know there's loads of different ones like bend and release and pre-bend and everything. He was learning tab, through tab. So I was basically trying to explain, if it says 10 and then has 12 in a brackets, I'm like, that's a full tone bend or whatever. And when different use, but there is of course much more. It's not just limited to that. I mean, you talk about Dave Gilmour, the brick in the wall solo.
Mm-hmm.
You've got he's not going up 2 steps on some of those notes. So
yeah, I'm curious when you were talking about the quarter note or quarter tone bends. First off, especially if you're teaching someone kind of at an early level, like what's the context? Why would you bother even talking about that?
So he wants, my particular student wants to learn songs kind of in their entirety, and he wants to kind of basically see how they're constructed with chord shapes and whatnot. And
that's great.
He asked me, he'd actually started learning the solo to the song was The Importance of Being Idle by Oasis. It's a pretty good song. There's some nice chords in there, the progression, and it's got quite a nice little solo for Oasis. And God, I am ripping on everyone tonight. It's got a really nice solo where it basically takes the melody line and it throws some kind of like tasty bends in there. So he had no idea how to bend. He was trying it himself. He wasn't giving like he's basically bending with his ring finger, but he had all his other fingers off the string. So there was no support there. So I was trying to basically give him a bending 101 idea. I explained the idea of a quarter note bend with, I was saying he knew Led Zeppelin. So I was like, Black Dog, that little note there. I was like, that's a perfect example of a quarter bend. It's used in blues, etc.
Hendrix uses it a lot, obviously, too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
This brings us to actually bending a guitar string. Probably is my favorite moment in any song ever. It's the Voodoo Child when the drums kick in and it's the that bend. I remember like first hearing that and I was just like, oh my God, what is that sound?
The Hendrix one, yeah. Okay.
Oh man, it's amazing. So yeah, I love bending, but how would you, if someone was to kind of improve their skills, what would you recommend?
Well, you hit on a bunch of different things there that I thought were really good too, like support. I've had so many students struggle with bending because they think, they might see somebody, say Stevie Ray Vaughan, who, is playing 13s or 15s or whatever. And when you look at some of those videos and he does sometimes bend a string up a whole tone with one finger, okay? We're not all Stevie Ray Vaughan. We haven't been pumping strings for 15 years, and particularly super heavy ones. And when you think about some of the strings he was playing with too, we have different string technology now that he was playing with 30 years ago. So that's something else to think about too. Just some of them were higher tension strings compared to what we play with. He wasn't playing with slinkies, for example. So many people play with these slinkies now, and I know they've been around for a while, but I know he wasn't. I'm pretty sure anyway, he wasn't playing with those. And so it's the idea of support. Use your other fingers if you're doing that, and even if you're doing, one of the things I like to do with students is find some song. They're everywhere. Pride and Joy comes to mind. If that intro where he's bending the note and matching it with the next string up on the B string. So it's I think it's third string bend, right?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong there.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a bend on the third string that he matches on the B string there, and it's a D going to an E, I think is what it is. And when you're doing that, you're bending up to it, but take the time to slow it down. You don't necessarily have to play it as fast as he is, but slow it down so the note you're bending to, and you're trying to match that. Of course, that all goes out the window if you're playing with a floating trem on a Strat or a Floyd Rose or something like that. That doesn't work because you just end up battling the thing. But if you got a fixed bridge of some sort, this is a really good way to practice matching those bends.
Matching notes.
Yeah, exactly. So
cool.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I think it's key, or practice with a tuner. That's a really good way too. Can you bend and hit the note on pitch? Because
I've never heard that before. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's something I started doing because I got really frustrated with the fact that I didn't always hit a pitch. It might sound that way when I was playing it, and then I'd listen back to a recording and be like, that's not even close. What's the deal? And I started just watching it with a tuner, and it's tricky. It's not as easy as you think, and particularly to hit that note and hold it. Can you sustain that? And that's definitely where those support fingers come in.
I'm definitely going to try that. That's a really good idea. For the last part of the section, do you want to round off with some favorite people, guitar string benders?
Like I said,
that just sounds weird. I'm just saying it right now.
Are you going to explain that for all the American listeners, or just let that one go and let them Google it?
I'm going to let that one go, John. Cast it off into the sunset. So anybody spring to mind apart from Dave Gilmour?
Yeah, I think we mentioned some interesting. I don't know if you can call them classic rock players, but that's kind of, when you're talking about classic rock radio, that's where they all get mentioned. You're looking at Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, David Gilmour, and I'm trying to think of some other players that would actually be excellent to listen to in terms of
Angus Young, hands down.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. And a lot of this stuff, they're all licks copped from classic blues guys. I mean, people like Buddy Guy, of course.
Rory Gallagher.
Yes. Okay. So if you're from this side of the Atlantic, I'm in Colorado at the moment. So Dylan, go ahead and explain a little bit about Rory Gallagher, because he's not as well known outside of Ireland as he probably should be.
Funny, you should ask, John. For today, earlier today, I was looking at a documentary on Rory, and there's a big thing about Slash talking about him being such an influence on him. Really, really impressed. Without Rory Gallagher, there would be no, Brian May, no. Slash's tone would be probably very different. I mean, he's a guitar god over here. There's this famous quote, and I don't know if it's true, about Jimi Hendrix was asked what it's like to be the best guitar player in the world, and he said, I don't know, go ask Rory Gallagher.
I think he said that about everybody at this point. But
yeah, but I think I like it, John. And in the city where you and I were both living for the last year and a bit, he is considered Jesus, essentially. He is on murals. There is a town square is named after him. The shop where he bought his guitar is now like a burger joint or something. And oh, really?
But they kept the mural of the guitar in the background,
cool.
Or in the store. So where he bought his first Strat. So he's definitely a legend. it would be I don't know if there's an equivalent. Memphis might be an equivalent, for Elvis.
Yeah.
It might be about the same. This is, Rory Gallagher ate dinner here once. Like, there's that kind of thing.
Every year there's a Rory Gallagher music festival up in Ballyshannon, County Donegal, where he was born. And they get like the best of the best blues players from Ireland and the UK and Europe to come play. And I've always wanted to go, but it's supposed to be really, really good. Yeah, he is a god here, essentially. But I always loved one thing I loved about Rory more than anything is his acoustic playing, honestly. Like, he is why I hybrid pick. He is why I played Dagad. Yeah, honestly.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he has a version of Lead Bellies out in the Western Plain, and I remember hearing this amazing guitar player do a cover of it at an open mic one night, and I was like, how are you able to make one guitar sound like two? And he showed me hybrid picking, and then basically I've Out on the Western Plain is one of my favorite guitar songs ever. I highly suggest checking it out. And there's so many live versions and everything. It's so good. Anyway,
brilliant.
That's Bending. I think we've covered a lot of ground there.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a solid discussion. If you guys have any suggestions or thoughts, comments, ideas, etc., that's what the social media is for.
Yeah, Prince, great at bending. Sorry. Anyway,
yeah.
I
think there's always more, for sure.
There is. That's it. Welcome to guitar. Everything is infinite.
The infinite search for tone. The infinite search for great players. There's so many great players, and ones you've never heard of. Ones I've never heard of. Anyway.
Yeah, there you go. So, John, what have you been working on?
This is an interesting question, and probably will be for the next 3 weeks. So, as
4 weeks, Sean. We have 4 weeks left until our thesis is due.
Thank God. Okay. Breathe. As for our regular listeners, you know that we are finishing up our master's in musicology. Essentially, that's what it amounts to. But writing a very demanding thesis for both of us, which means we sort of have to pick up any sort of little tidbits of guitar things that we can. This week, though, the YouTube star Jens Larsen. So Jens Larsen has a regular running YouTube series on jazz stuff. I don't know, does he put out one a week or is it like 3 a week? I have no idea. He's ubiquitous anyway. I don't know how he does it, but he's got about 5 or 6 minute videos. I think that's about right. 5 or 6 minute videos that he puts out there 2 or 3 every week anyway. But the one that kind of caught my eye this week was bebop jazz guitar licks. And because if you've listened to the show long enough, you kind of know that I'm a shredder at heart. Bebop is the original shredding. It's shredding on a trumpet, right?
Huh.
And I mean,
never heard that before.
That's go listen to some bebop. That's essentially what it is. At least that's my take on it. Metal trumpet, yeah. And so I
tuned down to B flat,
all the way down to B flat. Yes, and that's not on a 7-string trumpet. That's on a standard 6-string trumpet. Anyway, oh jeez, totally derailed. Jens Larsen. Okay, back to Jens Larsen and his bebop jazz guitar licks. A great little tutorial. He's got several licks in there that are worth looking at. A little bit of an explanation on what exactly he means by bebop jazz, which is good. I'm not going to go into that here. It's a big discussion. Look it up, figure it out. But it was a good thing to sort of digest in chunks over the week and just get something to play, because between I'm moving house at the moment, working on the thesis, catching up on all the work stuff I've got to do.
Not to mention all the crying we've been doing. I've been spending so much time crying. It's just
curled up in a fetal position on my bedroom floor, and that's mostly because of the thesis. But, let's be honest.
His stuff is really accessible.
Yeah, it is. It's super helpful and very, very well explained, I think. So check him out anyway, and it was helpful for me this week to just grab anything to work on. Anyway, and Dylan, I assume it's been just as mental for you as it has been for me. So
It really has, Sean. I actually sat down. I was playing at a gig last night, playing with my cover group, and then a couple of guys wanted to come in and they wanted to, sit in and play a couple of songs, a singer and a drummer, and they were playing. They were I was like, oh, I'll stick around. I'll play some songs with you, and I was expecting it to be like fucking Wagon Wheel or something or some crap, and they ended up playing some really like nice stuff. There was what's it called? Let's Stay Together by Al Green. And a few other, and they were like, solo, and I was like, oh god, and my brain just died. And I am so rusty. But my whole practice routine has kind of fallen by the wayside. But maybe a sneak peek for
words.
We're going insane for next week's topic of our podcast. We're going to talk about fitting in as much practice during the day as you can with limited time, which I think is a good one. But what I've been doing, John, if you recall, I was trying to do a learn a lick every day kind of habit tracking.
Yeah.
So I've kind of flipped that on its head, and I've actually turned that into a try and write a lick every day, which is fun. Like yesterday, I sat down and I'm going to write one lick, and I wrote 3, and I was like, cool. The whole thing I'm trying to do is trying to branch out with how I write them, and using like a drum machine in like 5/4 or something, whatever. Just trying to,
oh man,
different things. Yeah, but that's
You're
great.
All Prague over there. Holy cow!
Oh yeah,
rubbing off on you, man. That has different meaning.
Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
If anybody finds out, don't put it on a podcast. So that's kind of what I've been working on. And also I got back with my 2-piece backing band today, and I showed them this instrumental song, like slap acoustic song that I wrote a few months ago. And
have I seen this one?
No. We recorded it. Yeah, it's a new one. So we figured out a 3-piece arrangement for it, and it sounds amazing. So yeah, we're very excited. Anybody in Galway listening to this, I will be playing the Roisin Dubh either it's either 4 weeks today or 5 weeks today, depending on when I get the date, but it will be a Thursday. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Anybody in Galway, though I know we have a lot of international listeners. Hello, beautiful people. So yeah, and John, have you been listening to anything else?
Again, thesis material, honestly. But there are worse things to be listening to. Scale the Summit has a new album out, and I've been checking that out. And I believe it's called State of Fear. So, yeah, exactly. How metal is that?
Sounds like a fucking Megadeth record.
Well, it does have like a Pope skeleton or something on it. But anyway. Yeah, it's some of Chris Fletchford's best writing at the moment, and it's been fun to listen to. He's got a whole bunch of guest artists on there, which has been great. There's you'll probably roll your eyes at some of these names like Angel Vivaldi. That is the guy's actual name. That's probably the most amazing thing. Yeah. And in addition to that, there's Yvette Young, she's an up-and-coming metal guitar player who's just phenomenal, brilliant player, and doing some great stuff as well, and a host of other people to check out. I'd say it's worth it, particularly if you're kind of in that genre of instrumental rock / prog metal type instrumental music.
Which I'm not, but do you? You're allowed.
In a world of fear. I'm sorry. In a world of fear.
Ah, yes, because that changes everything. Cool. I might check that out if I'm looking for something a bit different. You introduced me recently to Polyphia, and
oh goodness.
Oh wow. Okay, that's another episode.
Can I go off on them for a minute or not? Shall I not?
Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Essentially, now don't get me wrong. Like excellent players. Like they are technically excellent players, but they're wow. If it's possible to sort of put Katy Perry aesthetics into instrumental, like if Katy Perry had a baby with Steve Vai, it would be Polyphia. Like that's what it would be. And it's just for me, it's beyond saccharine. Like I can't.
That's such a good word.
I can't deal with it, man. And it's just. And it's so hipster, but it's hipster in sort of emo hipster way. It's not like beard and flannel hipster. It's sort of long hair in front of my face and a t-shirt that goes down to my knees and covers up most of my skinny jeans kind of hipster. I can't take it. We might have to edit this out, but anyway, that's just, I don't know. I
want them to know.
Take that. Oh, they know.
I can't wait to read that thesis, John.
I'm sure they're laughing all the way to the bank too. So, they're making more money than I am right now playing guitar. So, kudos to them for that.
Don't compare yourself to those Katy Perry. Anyway,
Katy Perry, Steve Vai babies.
Yeah, that's quite the image. I'm just picturing like these little babies with like, big blue eyes and massive hands,
and leopard print pants, because they would both be wearing leopard print pants.
You get it.
You have no words for that. Nobody has any words for that image.
I can't.
Steve Vai and Katy Perry both in leopard print pants.
It's very late on a Friday, John. I can't process all of this. My brain, she can't handle it. I have been listening to basically the one album that I'm examining for my thesis, which is I Love You, Honey Bear by Father John Misty. Once one of my favorite albums. Now I just want it to die in a fire. But, it's that kind of period. What else have I been listening to? Mostly that. And yeah, I don't know. Friends, if you know anything for me to listen to, something different, something not white men fifth feelings songs, please send it to me. Preferably guitar based as well. I'm
trying, but you just keep turning me down.
Oh, not you. Not you. What I have been doing actually is I have actually been going back and listening to Led Zeppelin that I kind of would have ignored in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Like House of the Holy and stuff. When I started listening to Zeppelin, it was like 1, 2, and 4, and I'm kind of going back to like Physical Graffiti and House of the Holy and just spending some time with them. And man, so good.
Yeah, this is some classic stuff. I definitely, in terms of finding new stuff to listen to, I think it's worth saying, like, as a teacher, I always find new stuff to listen to because I have students bring new stuff to listen to. Now, that said, I had to play James Bay's Hold Back the River like 14 times in the last week. Made me want to strangle myself. But that said, like, there's some cool things to get out of those songs, and it's something, you get more exposure to what other people are listening to. I had someone bring in something from they're a tech metal band called Fallujah. And actually, yeah, I'm not even gonna lie though, but like some excellent riffs, and I was like, okay, this would not be a band I would go out and find, but I was like, there's some sweet riffs, and I'm gonna steal some of these riffs.
Sweet riffs, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Do you even shred? Come on.
Bro.
But just I think finding someone to teach guitar, finding someone else to talk about those things with, that's outside of the traditional classic rock, or whatever it is you're listening to. Let's be honest, a lot of guitar players will gravitate towards the classic rock. Move away from that. Ask some questions. Say, what are you listening to? Whether it's your friends, find, if you've got a nephew who's like 12, what is he listening to that has guitar in it? And you'll find, hey, that's something you didn't know about, and you might find something interesting wherever you listen. I guess that's kind of a little piece of advice for lecturing people about listening to music now. What's wrong with my life?
I loved every minute of it. John, we gotta bail, we gotta bounce, we gotta make tracks, we gotta do our things, we gotta get on with our lives. But we will be here sometime
next week. That's code for write our thesis, by the way.
Yeah, it's like 9:10 in the evening over here. I'm gonna have a beer and go to bed, and then wake up and write thesis.
Yeah, good man.
God, solid plan. Friends, thank you for listening. We've really enjoyed this. John, any parting words?
Stay sharp, my friends.
Stay sharp. Find us on Twitter and everything else and everywhere else. New stuff coming soon. Love you all. Mwah. Stay sharp.